Have you ever considered that when somebody else tells you you are too much, like too intense, too emotional, too happy, too sexy, too this, too that, too smart, you know too much, that maybe it says more about them than it does about you? So the truth is, you will be too much for people in ways that don't even make sense because everybody gets a different version of you. And this is how you know that it says less about you and a lot more about them. You could be too sexy for one person and too uptight for another. You will be too smart for some people in your life and barely be able to keep up with the conversation with other people, right? So when people say you're too much in one way, shape, or form, it is almost always because the parts of you that they secretly admire are the parts of you that they find too much. So if you've ever done any level of shadow work, it's the act of looking at the parts of yourself that you are secretly ashamed of and therefore crave more of, like it craves to be let out, right? That's like your shadow self, the side of you that you're ashamed of. So if you have people in your life that tell you, for example, that you're too sexy, have a look at their life and see if there's anywhere that you can identify that maybe they wish they were as comfortable with their own sensuality as you are. If you've ever had somebody tell you that you are too intellectual, like you intellectualize things, you analyze things too much, have a look at any areas in life where they would have been better served if they'd been more intellectual. If you've ever had somebody tell you that you're too emotional, you feel things too deeply, have a look at their life and think about if there's areas in their life where being more emotionally open would have actually served them. And if you can spot places, this is how you know that it's not that you're too much, it's that they're not enough of that thing in that area. So you triggering people by being the beautiful multi-dimensional person that you are has very little to do with you and a whole lot to do with them. So generally too much is code for you're more than I know how to handle. Your standards are too high, you're too this, you're too that. People will project their own insecurities, their own shame, the unintegrated parts of themselves that they haven't learned how to acknowledge, they'll project that onto you. So when someone says you're too much, what they're normally saying is your energy is touching part of me that I haven't yet met or allowed out in myself. So it's easier to say that you're too much than it is to acknowledge that I should be bringing that part out in myself. If you look at this through a feminine energy lens, too muchness is part of the very core of feminine energy in a lot of ways. And I'm not talking about being like uncouth and undignified and running around irritating people on purpose because I'm allowed to be too much. It's more about if you are an emotionally intelligent, aware being, and if you've landed on this channel, you probably are. The very act of being a woman who's in her feminine energy is to be a lot, right? Feminine energy is emotions. It's acknowledging the rage that you sometimes experience and how important it is. It's diving into things with a passion, like getting really intellectual about the topics that you're interested in. It's being open with your body language. It's cuddling friends. It's being open about how much you admire and love the people in your life. It's asking deep questions so you actually get to know people and you don't stay on the shallow end of the pool when you're having discussions with people because how boring, right? Feminine energy is a lot. And for people that struggle with different aspects of it, they'll make it out like it's too much. Your goal in life should not be to not trigger people. Your goal in life should be to understand, one of your goals in life should be to understand where other people's triggers come from, where your own triggers come from, and where you could improve when necessary. But being too much is almost always never about you. It almost always has to do with the other person. If they make any kind of like you're too this, you're too that, it's almost always about them. They wish they could bring that trait out in themselves. If you feel really triggered when somebody else tells you that you're too much in one area, it means that you haven't fully owned that side of yourself and acknowledged the beauty in it, right? So you can be a very confident person and still be triggered by somebody else telling you you're too much in one area if you haven't fully owned the importance of that area, right? So if, for example, you haven't learned how to own your own sensuality, if you ever had like an upsetting or a traumatic memory when you were a little girl having to do with sexiness and sensuality and somebody shaming it, then somebody telling you that you're too sensual is going to trigger you until you do the work. If you were called a know-it-all growing up and you couldn't see the beauty of your own intellect, then if somebody else tells you you're too much of a know-it-all, then that will trigger you. The second you learn to actually own the parts of you that are a lot, and there are a lot, by the way, because it's a gift of yours. As soon as you learn to own the good side and the bad side of those particular traits, you'll stop being triggered when people tell you that you're too much. I used to get triggered when people would tell me that I take conversations too deep all the time. Like, why can't you just have a normal small talk conversation? And then I did the work to own it. Now I'm like, why can't you just have a deep conversation? Sounds like it's not a me problem. If deep questions are too much for you, then maybe you're at the wrong table, not me. So owning every aspect of a particular trait that you've ever been too much in, that has ever triggered other people, as soon as you start to own it, you won't get triggered or upset when people tell you it's too much. Instead, what you'll do is be like, yeah, it is a lot. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, but this is who I am. When you stop fighting your too muchness in any area, you stop leaking energy trying to be understood. If you've ever been with somebody who's over explaining different parts of themselves, it normally means they haven't fully owned that part of themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't feel like they need you to understand them. So a good way to look at this is once you've fully owned different traits in you, you really don't care how much the other person understands them. You'll get to the point where you're like, if that's too much for one person and they don't understand why I operate that way, that's okay, because there is a whole host of rooms with people that will understand it and get it. And even if nobody ever gets it, I get to be me and I accept myself. So if you feel yourself having this urge to over explain why you're a certain way, like, oh, this thing happened to me in childhood and that's why I like to read all these books, or that thing happened to me at that certain time and that's why I get so passionate about this topic. It's good to be self-aware, but anytime you feel like you need to give, 10 paragraphs to explain why you are the way that you are, it's normally because you're trying to justify it to yourself. You will stop over-explaining yourself and your personality and just owning who you are as soon as you've accepted every aspect of that particular trait that you're over-explaining. Now, if you find this conversation interesting, if there's part of you that realizes I don't own every trait in myself, actually, I do over-explain myself sometimes. Actually, I do get triggered when people don't accept that particular part of me. Actually, I do trigger people often. I am often called too much. If you're resonating with any of that, I've got 2 things that will rock your world. So one is Unbound. This is the most inexpensive experience I've ever offered. So it's $30 for 30 days. It's happening right now. It ends at the end of October. And we dive into shadow work and dark feminine energy and owning every single trait that you have unapologetically in a really beautiful way. So the link for that is below. There's also the Curated Collective, which is my hypermind, where you join month by month. So there's no lock-in fee or anything. Every month you get to ask different questions. You get coaching. You get 2 questions per week that I'll personally coach you in. You get monthly trainings. Like, the value in it is wild. There's so much packed into it. And you'll be in both of these. You'll be in a virtual room full of women that get it, that don't think you're too much, that can't wait for you to accept you exactly as you are. So if that resonates with you, make sure that you click the link below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.